Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome to 3 Slurred Minutes, sober edition, actually. In the middle of the day, I got tons of submissions from actually a couple different people, so I do appreciate all the topics we wanted to discuss. And I thought about it as opposed to trying to do a long 2-hour video where you have to sort through all the interesting pieces and you kind of listen through crap and my nonsensical rantings, which will be probably in later videos once workday ends and I get to drinking. I thought I would get into a couple of questions here during the day between meetings. So the first thing and the most hotly contested and the most consistently put forward thing that I wanted to talk about was the Bryce Harper trade rumors, right? And why not? We've had a couple of big trades go down already this year. Some monster ones going back to last season as well. Bryce Harper is one of the best bats in baseball, presumably at least by name, and he's coming off of one of the best teams in the American League. So when Mitch put out there late last week that the Toronto Blue Jays would be entertaining offers for him, naturally, interest spiked across the league, and people started taking a look and seeing if they could afford him. So going into the weekend, we were told that there were a number of good offers put in on Bryce Harper, and the interesting piece about that was that the rumors were supposedly coming from the National League, whereas players have historically gone from the National League to the American League when they get a little expensive. This would be a case of a $30 million right fielder coming from the American League, one of the best teams in the American League, a World Series contender, to the National League, presumably a weaker division and one that seems to have smaller budgets. So all this was very fascinating, right? There's a lot of cloudiness around which teams are actually offering players and what those packages look like, but we got a little bit of insight. And what I wanted to do today was to discuss, I think, the teams that make sense, the teams that if I were to take a guess who was making offers on Bryce Harper, who they would be. And I don't know if we'll get into the specifics of what the actual trade pieces would look like coming back to Toronto, but at least look at why the teams would be able to acquire them and what they could offer up, right? The interesting thing to look at here, honestly, when I started looking at this, is why would Toronto be looking to move a guy like Bryce Harper right now? They are newly in first place in the American League East. Right now, you can argue that the assumption is that they think they can win this division outright even without Harper, and there's some credence to that. Tampa's in the midst of a rebuild. Baltimore is coming towards the back end of their rebuild with some of the young, mid-20s, lower 20 talent they have in the minors right now ready to come up. Boston, as much as we liked the success story early on, as many interesting pieces as they have, but they're just not ready to compete yet. The one big team in that division that can compete with Toronto is New York, and I think even New York has a lot of question marks. Right? Last year, I think that we were all sitting here thinking, what the hell is New York doing? They have all these contracts, they have no prospects. Well, they go and bring in a guy like Trevor Bauer. And also John Bauer has been fine for them, and a couple of the other pieces they brought in this season. New York's suddenly a very good-looking team. But you can still argue that Toronto's the best team, hands down, and they could be looking at winning this division with or without Bryce Harper. So why are they looking to move a guy like Bryce Harper, who, if you go back historically and look at his production for the Toronto Blue Jays, he's been a 6 to 7 to 8 win guy, a WAR guy, over his whole career. But if you take a look at 2019, in the 127 games he played, missing some games from injury, Harper had a down year. Now, 3.6 WAR is nothing to raise your nose at here, but at $30 million, that's a number you have to take a real hard look at. Still at 26 home runs, which is about on par for him. His average dipped about 25 points. His OBP dipped about 50 points, right? So you start looking at maybe a story of what you're not wanting to see out of a guy like Harper. His strikeout rate went up. His walk rate went way down. Like he walked way less than he typically does, right? So all of these things started hitting at a guy on the decline, which is crazy to say for a 27-year-old. But Mitch has never been one to sit around and let the narrative come to him. He's one to drive it. 2020 having a rough start honestly isn't helping the case either. Between 235 right now, still getting on base about 327 clip, but that 235 OBP or that average is not going to cut it for a guy that needs to be leading this team. Right, still playing solid defense. There's no question there. Bryce Harper is still, by all accounts, an elite fielder here. Elite player, right? A very good fielder, right? At both corner positions. He played left field exclusively this year. No errors. He's playing the position exactly the way you want him to. So again, why do you want to move a guy like this? We've kind of laid out that, maybe he's struggling. The Jays are looking to make a move. The Jays are just one of those teams that want to make moves all day long. You still got Stanton out in right field, Ryan Nash, excellent acquisition in the offseason to play center field. I think when you start looking at this, what Toronto was hoping to do is give Will Ward a shot in the outfield, a prospect that they love, that they've been high on since they brought him in earlier in the year. Give Will Ward his shot out there, right? And then take the pieces they can get back for a guy like Harper. If you put a guy, let's say he gets 2 or 3 big prospects back, and you put them with Mackenzie Gore, Nolan Jones, Cole Wilcox, Brandon Brownwell, that's a pretty good farm system for a team that is so stacked at the major league level. And he can go out and package those players to target a younger, cheaper corner outfielder. Now, I don't know who that is. I didn't take the chance to actually look around and go out and find some names. But if I had to take a look at what Toronto's doing, I would say that they're looking to cash in on Harper while he still has the name value. If he thinks that his production declines, and then make a move there. Right? So that's the theory. Now, as far as landing spots, there were 2 in the National League that I looked at. First one being Philadelphia. The Phillies make a lot of sense. They just do. They are producing above what we thought they would be in a weak division with the pieces to go get them. With a big budget, mind you. We forget about this sometimes, I think, because they've been bad for a couple of years. The Phillies have the room to make this happen, even with the big contracts they've got. The rumor coming out of Toronto is they're looking for young major league pieces coupled with big prospects. I have heard rumors they're going after an arm. Philly's got arms. Right? They've got an arm they can move. They've got the prospects to put on top of the arm if they wanted to make this run. You've got guys like Andrew Vaughn, Charlie Harper, Cameron Gundy, Luis Urias, Kijik Costello, right? All these players down here in the minors that can make an impact for the Phillies, or for the Blue Jays, excuse me. You've got big league pieces you can move, and you've got an opening in the outfield. Kate Turner just is not going to make it work out there in center field. Now, he's an interesting young piece. Kurt Turner, excuse me, plays great defense, but he's not going to do it. He cannot be on contending team in the outfield. Travis Jankowski in right field, give him or take, whatever, and Josh Bell in left. I think adding a guy like Bryce Harper that covers a lot of ground in center, which is what Kurt Turner is out there to do, by the way, to make up for the defensive shortcomings of Jankowski and Bell. But adding a guy like Harper who still covers a lot of ground and can swing the bat like that, I think that this gives them enough pieces to start looking at realistically catching the Mets, in the National League East. When I start looking at a team in the National League that makes sense to go after Bryce Harper, the Phillies were the first possibility, right? The other team there's 4 teams. The other one that I know for a fact being an offer would be the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds have been actively looking for a bat for years now, it seems like. And they are going to be, sorry, I actually have my work computer up here. I have another meeting here in a second. The Reds, right? I know that they don't have much in the cupboard. They have some pitching they can part with. I think the Reds were actively in on this deal, and I think what ended up happening was it got a little bit expensive, a little bit too expensive for them, right? I think there was a final couple of pieces of negotiation, and they ended up backing out. From the National League side, I think you also have to look at Colorado. Colorado's in on this. I don't think they've willing to part with what they need to get him. And then the Giants, the Buchholz brothers are probably in on this in some level, but I think the Phillies make the most sense. From the American League, the only team I could think of that would make an offer here would be Cleveland. I just don't know they have the pieces to do it. So if push comes to shove here, I don't think Bryce Harper's moved this year, but that's my thought process on why he was looked at. I think that the trade talks have more or less died down. I think that's where we are. They're back in a little while with contenders and pretenders and a couple of different things. This has been 10 minutes on Bryce Harper, about 5 minutes longer than I thought.